On a strange desolate planet, a monstrous vulture lands to feed on a hand. However, that hand suddenly grabs it by the throat, and from under the rubble Riddick emerges. He crawls with his broken leg under the burning sun looking for water, but sadly the little pond isn't apt for consumption. Feeling great pain from his wounds, Riddick takes a nap to rest his tired body. When he wakes up later, he decides to start by putting his foot between two rocks and painfully fixes his broken leg. His cry of pain is heard by some jackal-like beasts, who immediately come after him. Riddick backs away until he falls into the pond, which is full of some kind of eel. After pushing them away, Riddick concentrates on slowing down his heart until the jackals think he's drowned and they go away. When Riddick comes out of the water, he's shocked to discover there's still a jackal left. At first he does his best to fight it with his good leg and a bone he finds on the ground, however the jackal is too strong. Watching the animal's face, Riddick tests a theory and throws a piece of armor, which the jackal immediately goes after, confirming its behavior is dog-like. Afterward, Riddick adds support to his broken leg by using his armor and a few screws that painfully keep it all in place. Then he starts making his way across the desert, finding nothing but rocks and sand. Eventually he finds a cave with clean water, but his break is interrupted by the sound of the jackals looking for him. When the animals come closer, a mud demon comes out of the pond and brutally attacks the pack leader, killing it in seconds and scaring the other jackals away. The creature attacks Riddick next, starting a fight. After some struggle, Riddick manages to stop its mouth with another bone and uses the chance to run away. The sky is starting to get dark, so Riddick wanders around until he finds an obelisk, which he pushes to the ground so he can use for cover while he sleeps. That night, Riddick dreams about how he ended here. He used to be Lord Marshal of the Necromonger Empire, which granted him power and all the women he wanted. However, he refused to uptake the scared oath, and many powerful people were unhappy with that. There had been many attempts to murder him, so Riddick had to always be on guard. One night while Riddick was checking the door to be sure all his guards were in place, one of his concubines surprised him from behind and stabbed him, but Riddick simply scolded her for choosing the wrong spot and immediately killed her with the same knife. Afterward, Commander Vako and Captain Krona came to check on him and found his throne covered in blood. Riddick announced he wanted to return to his home planet Furia, and when Vako said all the charts to that place had been destroyed, Riddick threatened him with a knife, making him confess the only remaining map was in his head. Then the two of them made a deal. Vako would guide Riddick to Furia, and in exchange he got the throne so he could reach something called transcendence. A few hours later, Krona took Riddick to Furia, but as soon as he got there he could tell this was the wrong place and this was a trap. Krona's soldiers attacked Riddick, but he was faster and more powerful, so it only took him a few minutes to kill them all with his daggers. Krona tried to kill him next with his laser gun, and Riddick dodged by hiding behind a rock. Then Krona realized they were on the edge of a cliff, so he shot the ground to make the rocks crumble down and Riddick fall into the desert, leaving him to die. Back in the present, Riddick wakes up and continues to explore the desert, where he discovers the jackal leader left behind a bunch of puppies. Riddick takes one with him and uses bones to make a cage, where he feeds the puppy to help him grow. Sometimes the adult jackals try to approach the cave, but Riddick comes out and establishes his territory to keep them at bay. He also waits by the pond to hunt a baby mud demon and takes its venom, which he proceeds to inject into the puppy and his own body. Each day they take a small dose so their bodies can get used to it and eventually become immune. One day, Riddick climbs the cliff and discovers the other side of his location is filled with grass and water, but to get there he must first make it past the pond with the mud demons. Once his leg is healed, he jumps into the pond on purpose and fights the demon using a weapon made from bone. Both of them are very fast and keep dodging each other's attacks, so Riddick exposes his leg for the beast to bite and kills it while its teeth are stuck in the armor. Suddenly he hears a noise and turns around to discover the puppy is barking at a bunch of beasts. This distraction allows a mud demon to attack Riddick from behind, but he quickly dodges it and runs away. Riddick grabs his puppy and the bone weapon, then he slides right under the demon as he slices it open. While the mud demon wiggles in pain and dies, Riddick reaches the other side and can finally escape the area. 6 months pass as Riddick travels the plains with his jackal pet, who is now fully grown and a very good boy. One day the jackal picks up something and Riddick must drag him by the neck to make it drop it, discovering it's a golf ball. This means humans have been here before. Following this clue, eventually they find Station P7, which is a base for mercenaries and bounty hunters. He takes a few useful tools and some food packs, but when he opens them later, he discovers they're nasty. Riddick tries to feed them to the jackal, but the pet doesn't like them either and pees on them. While they share the meat of a beast they hunted, the sky suddenly gets dark. At first Riddick thinks a rainstorm is a good thing, but when the jackal growls, Riddick uses his special eyes to notice a horde of mud demons moving with the storm. Understanding why people don't stay on this planet, Riddick returns to the station and activates the beacon that scans him, identifying him as a wanted man and sending out the signal to the mercenary ships nearby. Moments later, Captain Santana and his mercenary crew arrive. They search the station but don't find Riddick there. They only see a message written in blood telling them to leave one ship for Riddick and leave, or they'll die. Afterward the crew begins setting up camp, installing a sensor that will warn them of approaching enemies. They have a prisoner inside the ship, so Santana orders his men to free her to make room for when they catch Riddick. The woman begins running as fast as she can, only for Santana to kill her with one quick shot. Riddick watches from his hiding spot without being able to do anything. Then Santana lets Riddick know he's here for him by yelling out into the open, saying he will take his head in a box. At that moment a crew of bounty hunters arrive led by Boss Johns. Santana tries to send them a message that the area is taken, but they land anyway. An argument ensues over who gets to stay, and in the end John agrees to let Santana handle Riddick until he needs his help. Santana points at Riddick's message and reveals he'll lock up his ship note in a locker with a bombing mechanism to prevent Riddick from stealing his ship, and John sends Dahl to do the same even if she's wary of the idea. When night falls, Dahl informs Johns that the usual traps are missing from the base. Suddenly the sensor finds something and the crew sees the pet jackal nearby. Diaz tries to shoot it, but the animal dodges the shot just in time. Now that everyone is distracted, the jackal pulls at one of the sensor's nodes and Riddick makes a bunch of noise up in the cliff, causing the machine to malfunction until Santana turns it off. He sends his men to check on the sensor nodes, and right as Johns tries to warn them of the missing things, one of the mercenaries steps on a trap Riddick hid before their arrival. With broken legs, the man tries to painfully crawl away, only to activate another trap that immediately kills him. Santana tries to get in contact with another soldier, but there's no response. Two mercenaries go looking for their missing friend only to find Riddick taking the body away. The duo opens fire in the dark and misses all the shots while Santana hears the screaming on his radio. The next morning, the soldiers come back with two mercenary bodies left by Riddick, and one is still missing. Santana sweeps the area to take out the traps, then he has no choice but ask Johns to join forces. However, Santana keeps being a bigoted twat towards Dahl, so she ends up hitting him a couple of times. Johns accepts to take action, but he's actually taking control of the entire mission instead of working together. He explains that he only needs to get information from Riddick, and then Santana can have his head for the bounty. The crew uses their own equipment to find the jackal, and Dahl shoots him a couple of times to implant a tracker in the jackal's leg. Then they set out on jet bikes to track the animal into a cave, where they light their way with special glowing weapons. They slowly make their way inside and find the word Furia carved on the ground. When they see a person, they immediately shoot him, only to discover it's the missing body. They're suddenly startled by the jackal running in the darkness, and they realize they were brought here on purpose so Riddick could buy time. Back at the base, Dahl is taking a shower and she can't help feeling she's being watched. Suddenly a hand enters through the broken window, but when Dahl turns around, it's already gone and her mirror is missing. When she leaves the bathroom, she finds Santana there and thinks he was the thief. While the other soldiers keep watch around the ship, Riddick is already on top of it, using Dahl's mirror to follow their movements. This also helps him discover the nodes are missing from the ship, so he can't steal it to escape yet. Dahl gets a message from the people at the cave saying Riddick must be at the base and she tries to order Santana to go after him. However, Santana responds by hitting her, triggering a fight that Riddick watches from the ceiling. After exchanging a few hits, Santana overpowers Dahl and pins her to the floor. At that moment, Johns and the others come back and discover Dahl has already beaten Santana up. There's also a surprise. While they were busy fighting, Riddick left a message with blood on the locker saying fair trade. The base communications have also been smashed. Santana wants to open the locker, and Johns is worried that since Riddick is so sneaky, he may have changed the combination. Another argument ensues that makes everyone take out their weapons, but Johns quickly orders them to calm down because they're obviously being manipulated by Riddick's mind games. After they step away for safety reasons, they let Santana open the locker. He puts the code very slowly and thankfully nothing explodes, confirming the nodes are still inside. They're so relieved they forget to lock it again. While the group discusses what to do next, one of the soldiers hears a noise and comes to check the locker. Noticing the skylight is open, he begins looking around the area and is suddenly grabbed by Riddick, who confirms the poor guy is terrified of him. Another soldier notices his friend is missing and searches for him, only to find him alone and frozen in fear. The soldier informs them Riddick is around and the crew discovers the nodes are gone. While the crew argues over how to proceed, Riddick buries the nodes in the desert and notices the storm is getting closer, so he must do something. Using the radio from the body he left in the cave, Riddick contacts the group and asks to parley. After dropping their weapons on the ground, Riddick meets with Johns, Santana, and Diaz away from the base. Johns tries to ask Riddick about an old mission during which his son died, but Riddick refuses to answer and instead promises to bring back the nodes if they give him one ship, explaining they shouldn't be here when the storm comes. Then he leaves, giving the crew time until the rain comes to make their decision. Furious, Santana tries to shoot Riddick, but his jackal attacks Santana first and makes him fail the shot. Riddick immediately tries to save his pet, but Dahl begins firing tranquilizers at Riddick from afar. The first one does almost nothing, but after a bunch of them reach his body, Riddick is too weak to move and Santana uses the chance to kill the jackal. He tries to kill Riddick too, but John stops him and knocks Riddick out instead. When Riddick wakes up, he finds himself chained up at the base. Johns keeps asking questions about what happened to his son, but Riddick refuses to answer even when a furious Johns hits him for it. At that moment it starts raining, and Johns gives up on Riddick, letting Santana have his head. However, when Santana is about to strike, the sensor outside warns them of danger. The crew goes outside and discovers they're surrounded by mud demons from the storm. They immediately run back inside and lock every exit while one of the soldiers shoots through the window. However, a mud demon pierces the wall and quickly kills him by stabbing him and hitting him against the window. The crew opens fire on the monster, but soon the demon moves to the roof and reaches through the skylight to grab another soldier. While they hear the noises of the beast killing their friend, Riddick laughs as he points out he's the only one that knows how to fight the demons. Johns finally agrees to give him a ship in exchange for his help and begins freeing Riddick, but Santana stops him because he wants the bounty. Doll tries to cut it, yet she's captured by the other mercenaries while Santana approaches Riddick to finally get his head. Now that he has a free leg, Riddick uses to kick Santana and then his blade, causing it to cut Santana's head, which falls right into the box. Then the crew frees Riddick and they blaze out in gunfire against the mud demons, shooting every beast in sight. One manages to grab a soldier's foot with its tentacle, and the crew quickly shoots it to death, but it's too late, the soldier is already dying from the venom. While Doll and the last soldier stay to protect the ships, Riddick, Diaz, and Johns leave on the jet bikes to find the nodes. Riddick uses his special eyes to navigate in the dark, allowing him to drive past a mud demon without getting caught and damaging it in the process. This also allows him to pull some crazy jumps on the bike. When they almost get there, Johns is sideswiped by Diaz and his bike crashes. Johns hears noises around him and begins shooting in the dark. Luckily Riddick comes to pick him up before anything happens. The duo rides away together, and when they arrive at their destination, Riddick begins digging for the nodes as he talks about John's son. It turns out the boy had been an addict and was about to kill an innocent kid to get money for his favorite substances, so Riddick killed him to save the child. Johns refuses to believe his son had been the bad guy, but at that moment, Riddick finally finds the nodes. Hearing this, Diaz comes out of hiding and knocks out Johns before attacking Riddick. A fierce battle begins and Diaz picks up Riddick to kill him, but Riddick is stronger and pushes his arms down until he can kick him away. Then Diaz grabs his gun, only to suddenly meet face to face with a blade Riddick had hidden in the hole, and now he uses it to kill him. As Diaz dies, his falling body accidentally shoots the gun and destroys one of the bikes. Then Johns checks the last bike, only to discover Diaz has already disabled it because his original plan had been to take the nodes and leave them behind. Johns and Riddick set out on foot back to the ship, killing mud demons as they go. They work together as a team to get rid of them one by one, but while Johns is safe at a distance with his gun, Riddick is fighting hand to hand with his blade, which allows a demon to stab him with a fang before it gets killed. After throwing a bomb to kill the last demons, Johns takes the chance to steal Riddick's node and returns to the ship. Meanwhile, Riddick finds a hot rock left by the explosion and uses it to painfully cauterize his wound. At that moment he hears dozens of demons approaching, so Riddick climbs a steep cliff to escape, but the demons just follow him. At first Riddick defends himself with his weapon, but a demon bites his leg and makes him drop it. Too stubborn to give up, Riddick keeps on climbing, and at the top of the cliff, he begins fighting the creatures with his bare fists. A demon jumps on Riddick and is about to eat him, but something suddenly makes it blow up. It's Johns and the crew on the ship, who proceed to kill every monster with the cannons. Then Doll descends like an angel to pick Riddick up. Moments later, Riddick takes Santana's ship and says his goodbye to John's people to return to Necropolis. When he makes it to the fortress, Riddick is surprised to find Krona praying in the throne room. It turns out it was him who betrayed him and not Vako. Riddick immediately stabs him from behind before approaching the concubine to ask if Vako is alive or dead, and she answers both. Then Riddick walks to the window and notices a glowing light, realizing Vako has entered it and achieved transcendence. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.